Your doctor looks at your blood and sees nothing but four simple letters. AB, AB, or O. That is all he thinks matters. But just over a century ago, physicians read blood in a completely different way. They saw it as a living record of who you really were and where your people came from. Then, in 1901, everything changed. Right at the same moment, the vast empire known as Tartaria was erased from every map and every history book. The ancient way of understanding blood was replaced by something far simpler and far less revealing. I never believed the Tartaria stories until I started connecting the dots myself. What I discovered left me speechless. The blood flowing through your veins still carries the original code from that lost civilization, and they made sure most people would never know it. I spent weeks buried in old medical journals from the 1800s and dusty world maps that still showed a massive territory labeled Greater Tartaria stretching across Asia and parts of Europe. At first it felt like two separate rabbit holes, one about forgotten advanced architecture and free energy, the other about how doctors used to diagnose patients by their constitutional blood nature instead of lab results. Then the timelines lined up so perfectly, I had to sit down. The constitutional system that treated blood as a personal ancestral map vanished from medical schools at almost the exact same time Tartaria disappeared from official records. It was not a slow evolution. It was a clean replacement. For nearly 2,000 years, healers across Europe and the Islamic world looked at a patient and saw four fundamental temperaments shaped by the qualities of their blood. The warm and outgoing type full of vitality, the fiery and ambitious one, the thoughtful and withdrawn, the calm and steady. Each carried visible physical traits and clear patterns of which illnesses they were likely to face. Doctors prescribed specific diets, herbs, and lifestyles based on what they read in the blood because they understood every person was unique, shaped by the survival struggles of their bloodline. This was taught in the greatest universities of the time. It guided treatment for kings and commoners alike. Then, suddenly, after 1900, it was labeled outdated superstition and removed from training entirely. The shift began in a Vienna laboratory when Karl Landsteiner mixed blood samples and announced the world only needed 4 categories based on surface reactions. Safe blood transfusions became possible, and that was celebrated as progress. But something much deeper was lost in the process. The old approach had been asking questions like, what ancient hardships did your ancestors overcome? The new system only asked, which letter fits you for the hospital database? I kept digging, and the institutional trail led straight to the same powerful network. The Flexner Report of 1910, funded by Carnegie money, declared most American medical schools unacceptable. Within 20 years, more than half were shut down, especially those still teaching individualized constitutional medicine. Funding flowed only to institutions that followed the new standardized model. And guess where Landsteiner continued his work after leaving Europe? At the Rockefeller Institute, working under the direction of the same family that backed the Flexner reforms. The more I read, the clearer the pattern became. The grand narrative of Tartaria, with its legendary knowledge of human vitality and natural energies, was being scrubbed from history books and maps right as the understanding of blood was being narrowed down to something easy to catalog and control. It was not presented as a conspiracy. It was sold as scientific progress. Yet the old physicians had been tracking real patterns. Modern research now confirms many of those observations, even though the original explanations were imperfect. Certain blood types show dramatically different survival rates against specific diseases that once ravaged entire regions. These differences align with the geographic zones where Tartarian influence was said to be strongest. Your blood type today still acts like a silent archive of which ancient pressures your lineage endured. During my research, I came across early 20th century blood surveys taken from soldiers across continents. Researchers noticed striking clusters. One type dominated in areas linked to the old empire's western edges, while another was far more common in the eastern steppes and highlands. Those findings were quickly redirected into dangerous political territory and later buried under new ideologies. But the raw data hinted at something much older than national borders. It hinted at bloodlines that had survived cataclysmic events together. Then there are the populations that still carry unusually high frequencies of rare combinations, especially the Rh-negative factor. The Basque people in the Pyrenees stand out with some of the highest rates on the planet, along with extremely elevated type O and almost no type B. Their language has no known relatives, and their genetics suggest deep isolation. Official science calls it genetic drift. Yet these same unusual blood signatures appear in scattered mountainous regions from the Atlas to parts of the British Isles, places old maps sometimes marked as distant outposts of a single forgotten civilization. These groups somehow maintained their blood integrity for thousands of years, despite biological challenges that should have wiped them out long ago. Today, medicine recognizes dozens of blood group systems beyond the familiar four letters, yet in everyday practice, doctors almost never discuss them. They certainly do not talk about how these systems might preserve echoes of lost ancestral environments. Instead, your blood type is reduced to a practical label useful for transfusions, legal cases, and population statistics. The deeper story, the one that once connected you directly to the survival wisdom of your people, was set aside. I checked my own blood type after weeks of reading. The results lined up with family stories of unusual resilience in certain environments and vulnerabilities in others. It no longer felt random. It felt like a quiet inheritance from a time before the Great Historical Reset. The constitutional doctors of the past were not primitive. They were reading blood as a dynamic record of lineage and environment. The new system delivered undeniable benefits in emergency medicine, but at the cost of forgetting the bigger picture. Your cells still hold the original Tartarian-era code shaped by centuries of selection that modern textbooks refuse to acknowledge. They did not just redraw the maps after 1900, they redrew the map inside human biology itself so the connection would be harder to see. 48 known blood systems exist in the scientific literature, each one potentially carrying fragments of a much older story. Yet most people walk around knowing only their single letter, as if that single letter tells the whole truth. I keep coming back to the same uncomfortable question. If the blood in your body still carries the survival memory of a lost empire, why has that memory been edited out of standard medical knowledge? Why replace a rich, individualized understanding with a simplified classification that serves institutions more than individuals? The answer may be simpler and darker than we want to admit. A population that understands the full story written in their own blood might start asking questions about other erased chapters of human history. Your blood was never just a medical convenience. For thousands of years, it was the last unbroken link to who we once were. That link did not disappear by accident. It was deliberately narrowed after 1900 at the same moment the Tartarian chapter was closed. The code is still inside you. The only question left is whether we are ready to read it again